God, I don't even want to do this tonight. I'm just like over it. But hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm one of your hosts, Matt Ray, and over to the right. I nailed it that time.
Oh man, you got it finally.
Nailed it. It only took like 10 episodes, and I got it. Next time I'll mess it up. Yeah, Neil Hardy. And we're with Technist, and we like to keep up on nerd stuff. And we're going to help you keep up on nerd stuff because we're bringing you all the technology news and a little bit of commentary to kind of go with it because otherwise, just go read the damn site yourself. So with that, we'll get started.
Have you or one of your friends been a victim of Zoom bombing?
I have not.
Google Meet for Education is here to help. But in all seriousness, Google has announced that users will be required to be logged in to their Google account to actually use Google Meet for Education, which I think is a really good thing. This will prevent crashing of meetings from those internet trolls that we all love. Matt Ray. This was very frequent at the beginning of the pandemic, specifically with Zoom, which is why the term was coined Zoom bombing. But that also gave rise to a bunch of security features that Zoom has tried to roll out recently. And it just kind of looks like Google Meet's trying to keep up and then try and steal some school districts away from Zoom because there actually have been school districts that have completely banned Zoom because of these issues. So pretty interesting. I think it's a great thing. Google Meet's been doing some really good things recently. If you haven't checked it out, they do, it's like almost completely free, I believe, for if you have a Gmail account, which is free to make. So 30 seconds of your time, I guess. But yeah, so Google Meet's a great alternative. I actually really like Google Meet and enjoy using it. So
yeah, I think that's awesome. And since Hangouts is gone, I think it's gone now, right? It was leaving, and now it's either on its goodbye tour or it's gone. But it's really cool to see it kind of getting the attention it probably always deserved. But I think you really missed the larger story here, Neil, and that's why these moccasins are what's showing up for an advertisement. But then even more disturbing, cycling underwear.
There you go.
So you know what? We'll follow up on this story and we'll get back to everybody about that.
Yeah, we'll let Matt's Google history here.
Yeah. How did you say I clear cache real quick? I gotta.
Well, for our next story, it's been another rough week for Amazon Gaming. If you remember, we talked about their other game, Crucible, which recently kind of took itself off of Steam because it was in not so great shape, we'll say. Well, here we are, and they have stumbled again with their fantasy MMO called New World. New World revolves around your characters colonizing a new continent, which is a pretty cool idea. It has a bunch of those fantasy things where you have like wizards, knights, and things like that. So yeah, it looks like a pretty cool idea and pretty cool game. It was set to launch August 25th and is now set to release sometime in spring 2021. The developers are apparently really trying to focus on middle and in-game content, which is something that MMOs always struggle with because users blow through the content. So paying customers that have already paid for the game will still be able to play the game in a closed alpha state. But the developers are really kind of hoping that this will show why they need more time to continue to add content because apparently it's pretty dry. But yeah, this doesn't look great for Amazon because this is like super close to their launch date for the game. And then all of a sudden now they're like, oh, hold on, no. I have a hard time believing that they did not know that they weren't going to have enough content this close to their launch. But Hopefully they can get their act together, because this is actually one that I would take a look at and try playing. So
Yeah, I got super excited. I was telling you earlier that I signed up for the beta. I was pretty excited about it. Then I had other things to do, and I never got around to actually installing it. But well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's my fault. Like this is my fault.
yeah, you didn't give them the feedback they needed early enough.
No, I know, but no, I really do like this. The concept of this, because they started pushing out screenshots and their Twitter account, like they had like some really cool little bits that they were kind of dropping off before you could even get into the beta or whatnot. And I thought, man, this is like bananas. But it wasn't bananas. It was actually tweets. So I think that's kind of interesting. But once again, Neil, you've missed the big story, and that's that you can get jumping sticks. Look at I'm going to save 39 cents if I subscribe and save.
I mean, you have to now.
Yeah. Now I feel like I'm hungry for jumping sticks. I don't even know what they are. I'm just kidding. I know they're for dogs. Calm down. In other news. There's been a lot of discussion around, especially in the past week, about kind of the U.S. government was going to basically pull, foreign exchange students, basically, or visa students that were here on educational visas if they did not have at least one in-person class. And a lot of people got worked up about that, namely some schools you may have heard of, like Harvard, MIT. So some of the big names, and I think this is fascinating to me because they've done a reversal, and they're now saying, okay, you know what, we get it. We need to, even if you're a fully online student, I think we need to honor these like student visas and keep everything on the up and up. The big thing here is, and you can read a lot of political commentary. You can read just a ton of stuff about this on every single site that you can possibly imagine. But the big thing for me, what caught my eye about this story was it really underscores the drastic change in education that we've seen. I'd say even in the past 10 years, but then also the whole COVID-19 situation has propelled us our even from higher education now down into the high school and middle school, and I guess even elementary school levels, to deal with what do you do with distance learning. And I thought this was fun, so I thought, I wonder how many degree seeking students are doing online only. Any guesses?
Percentage wise?
Let's do a percentage.
Before COVID.
Sure. Yeah, let's say last year. Let's say 2019.
Okay, because I would say a lot higher if it was post or current affairs. I'm gonna go high for what I think it actually is and say 40.
That is super high. It's actually 12.5%. So,
okay, yeah. I was gonna say 20. So
yeah. So 12.5%. You think that's not a lot, but man, when you think that there's 3.5 million degree seeking, now this is associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate, this is running the whole gamut, right? There's about 3.5 million degrees being sought and actually being handed out every year. 12.5% is a lot. That's a lot, right? And so then you can break that down even further by, okay, well, how many of those people are, non-resident, but so this is why this is a big deal, and this is actually what got my attention. I think it's interesting how fundamentally different education is today. As you know, I went through Western Governors University, which is an online only school, and was able to get my bachelor's degree super late in life because I like to be late to everything, and why should this be any different? But all the major schools are part of the cool kids club with this online school stuff too, right?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, most universities are letting you choose what you want to do. for the most part. So yeah, I mean, I can't believe that it's kind of taken this long for this to catch on. Because like, why do you necessarily need a classroom? And like, what is a classroom? Like, you can fundamentally change the way that we think about education right now, for better or for worse. But yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna force us to think about, is this the best way to teach our younger generations? And I think that that's a very good and positive thing to be thinking about.
Yeah. I think when I remember when Ready Player One came out, and you and I had a lot of like philosophical discussions about how kind of groundbreaking that thought was, to be online at all times, and especially with education. But it's great because you can truly have the best teachers, right? And they're no longer going to be limited by. There's probably some right limitation. There's probably some natural threshold for the number of students in a class or whatnot, but still, I mean, the ability to take on-demand classes, right? So then there isn't anybody live there, so you can take it at your own pace and at your own time. So if you work a job like late night or whatever it may be, you're covered, but you still have access to like I guess the maybe subjectively best education, but definitely at least top tier throughout the world. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, I think something that shouldn't get lost as well is that there are still barriers there. So like there will be like you need certain types of technologies to do these things. So yeah, I mean, yes, what you're saying is true. Like yes, anyone could have access to those things, but there are barriers still that will exist. They just will not be geographical.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think we take Wi-Fi and cellular signal strength and fast data plan for granted, but that's not the case everywhere. And even Chromebooks is considered inexpensive, but they're a couple $100, right? So somebody has to deal with that expense. So that's a good point. I appreciate your kind of perspective on that.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have for today. So thank you for joining us on this edition of Tech Talk Tuesday. If you want to read up on anything that Matt and I talked about today, you can find the links of the articles in the description below. While you're down there, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss any more of our mispronunciations, ramblings, musings, and hilarious jokes. You can stay caught up on the news as well. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you're feeling generous, you could give us a little bit of a follow there. And with that, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Did you go to the dentist or something? Like what was?
Yeah, I don't know. My tongue is just so numb.
Yeah, I could tell.